Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. My opponent's gone first with chi. I have an N, which I can use to extend chi to chin. And I don't have a good rack with only one vowel. Certainly don't have a bingo. Vang looks like it scores well, and the rack leave isn't too bad. And this looks promising. I would have knock chew oid through an I. Unfortunately the eye of chin is not available. My opponent gets 19 for qualms. So I just need to consider the floaters to see if I have an 8-letter bingo. I do have the out prefix. I would have duck a tune through an A. Unfortunately neither A works. So I'm just looking at the floaters in qualms. No, I can't see a bingo there. I'm looking at column 8, parallel to qualms. I could play Unt for 22 points. That would leave CDU, which isn't great. I would much prefer to play off the U. So, am I missing something? I can place my D at J6 on the triple letter square, but I can't play a parallel move to qualms. I could play Daux at M3. That would probably leave the best leave. Let's see what that looks like. Leaving O-N-T. I'm wondering if I've got something through the M. Well, I'd have condom leaving UT. That would be 6 more points. But the U is a drag on my bingo prospects. So is there a play using the U which goes through the M? Well, there's Mouton. But that would leave CD. I think this is the best leave, and my priority is to leave myself with good leaves because I want to get an early bingo. I do not have a bingo with this rack. I do have the W for score, and it's quite a balanced rack, so I should be able to play through this okay. I can place my W at L4, so I could play toe or town even. Town isn't great. I'm wondering about stopping here. Town would score an extra 4 points. But does the N contribute 4 points to this rack leave? Actually, I'm going to take the points. It's 29 points. Great, I draw the first blank, and I'm definitely going to be bingoing. I have innovate through the V of Vang. Now town takes an S in front, so I could play earnest. There are anagrams of earnest. There's ratines. Actually, ratines would be better, because my opponent cannot put an S to the right of it. Eastern earnest, nearest and ratines. Yeah, I think the R is the least helpful opening letter. So that's 75 points. And I do not draw a good rack. Triplicate R is troublesome. My opponent has challenged, so I get an extra, or he loses 5 points from his score. So I'm now 55 points in front. The C and the K go well together. There goes the second blank. I'm sure I do not have a bingo through the I. So how can I maximise my score with the K? I'd like to play off 2 R's. But that might be difficult. I noticed that a double-double is available in column 11, which would score well if I can use the C and the K, but I don't think I have a word in that spot. So what do I have? There's column 8 onto the A of avoiding. Well, there's a Eric. This doesn't feel great. It is retaining 2 R's and it only scores 22 points, so that's not good. Well, I can score more than that by playing over here. Whoops. 26, that's a little better. I'm just wondering if I can use the G of avoiding. Greek is good. That will be 30 points. But my rack leave of CRR is significantly worse than ERR. I'd rather sacrifice 4 points and keep the E. And this looks good. I have earlier and Lyria, both of which go at A2 down. And I have derailer at F12 down. So I will be bingoing. I have nearlier through the N of avoiding, which has just been blocked. I don't have anything through the first I of avoiding, so I don't have a double-double. I have earlier at H14 down. So, what to do? Earlier at A2 is not good because that's placing an E right next to the triple word square. So I want to avoid giving my opponent an easy opportunity to score. I can't see anything beginning with the M of qualms. I could play Lyria at A2. So it was derailer. Now is there an anagram of derailer? Re-railed. I think derailer is probably the best I've seen. It doesn't open up a triple word square for my opponent. At 70 points, and that's going to take me back into the lead. This isn't a great rack. The V and the U are not a good combination to have. I do have the Z, so hopefully I can play through this and score well. And I draw another 5-point penalty, which is good. Tsar is good. There are several places to play that, including E10 for 36 points. But if I play Tsar, the rack leave of A, B, L, U, V is terrible. So this is a tricky situation. My rack isn't bad enough to change, but there's a real possibility that I'll score a mediocre amount and have a poor rack leave for next go, and I'm only 29 points in front. So what can I do? I'm not going to be able to play off my V with my Z. Blazar would be good onto an R, but there's none in the right place. If I can't play with my V with my Z, can I play the L with the Z? Luz is good, but I can't see any great spots for that. I could play Bez at D6 for 34 points. Ah, I've just seen something great. I was running out of inspiration, but this is going to score well. Zabra 52 points. LUV, it's not good. The U and the V do not go well together, but 52 points is a great score for this rack. I'm now 81 points in front. I would have Vituline through an N. Although I do not have a bingo, I should be able to play through this quite well. Well, 56 points for my opponent, that's good. He's staying in touch. Good for him, that is. X takes a V in front. I could play Lev, but that would leave U double I, and I'd rather not keep that particular combination. I'm going to struggle to play off the V, the I and the U, which is what I'd like to do. I would have unitive through an N. I've got 8 minutes on my clock. There are 23 tiles in the bag. Well, this is actually proving more tricky than I was expecting. There is still a U in the bag. Well, I'm just struggling. Let's see what Lev would score. 28 points. Tex is good. I just can't see the word, a word in the row D. Vile just isn't going to score enough. And the time is ticking down. Gosh, what am I going to do? Just cannot see a good move. The trouble with playing a weak move is that I then have a bad rack next go and more time is consumed in dealing with it. Well, let's have a look at Veil. It splits up the duplicate I, gets rid of the V, and it scores 27 points. UTI, not good at all. And I now have 5 vowels. But I am in front. I'm 50 points in front. And the board is pretty closed, which is good. Huia is good, and Huia, H-U-I-A. So I may be able to play one of those. With 2 S's, column 14 is a hot spot from J14 down. I could play Hut at J2. Look at the vowels that are left. There's only one E and there's no A's. There's only one I. So, keeping a preponderance of vowels may not be a problem. Hut, 29 points. That's a good score. I've got 5 minutes left. Am I missing something else? Because a play like Hugh would be a good score. Would be a good, would improve the rack leave, I mean. Well, I could play EA TH in this position. £34 points. So that's 5 more points. Tricky. I'm not sure what's best here. EIU is not a great leave. But there are only 6 vowels out of 22 tiles, actually. That's fine. And that was the worst that could happen in some respects, picking up the second U. But with the Y and the P, I've got scoring tiles, so I can play a word like yup and keep the score rolling along. I'm 70 points in front. My opponent either needs a bingo or a couple of really big scores. And looking at the tiles that are left, they are quite bingo-y. But if he doesn't bingo, the only scoring tiles are 2 Fs and an H. There aren't any great spots for them. So do I try and kill off the bingo lane in column 14? Or do I just keep scoring? Great. My opponent has taken out the bingo lane. He has scored 49 points, so he's only 17 behind. But it's me on turn. Frosty is good. And... ooh. Have I got a play which goes onto the triple? Well, yes, in the sense that I have PYE. Let's see what this scores. The rack leave is shocking, but if I can keep scoring 36 points or thereabouts, that's okay, and I'm not going to add to my collection of U's. There are 2 O's left, but that will help me get rid of the U's. There are no bingo lanes left, so the priority is scoring. Actually, there is a bingo lane in row B, because BI takes an O in front. But is there something better than PYE? Well, not that I can see. So my opponent does have a good set of tiles. He may have a bingo in row B. I need to take that out. If I hadn't added Y to Frost, row O would have been a bingo lane. So I was certainly correct to take that out before turning my attention to row B. Lex takes an I in front, so I could play hit, and that would obstruct his use of row B. There are 3 tiles in the bag, so I should have a pretty good idea of what he's got on his rack after the next move. He's got 15 minutes on his clock. I've got just under 3 on mine. I do have the 6-letter word, out hit. But that doesn't go in rows B or C. Ochre takes an H in front. Great, my opponent has blocked row B himself. I can see the 8 remaining tiles. They're not great. And I am 33 points in front. I must be careful that I don't open up an opportunity for my opponent. Now I could play Huier down here, leaving Tout. It's only 15 points, which isn't good. But if I play in row B to make a word like, or to make Hod, I'm enabling my opponent to use the S to make Shod. Can I do better than this? So that's 15 points. I'm going to have to play quite quickly. This is 22. I think I'm going to take the points. That may well have been a poor move. If I played off more tiles, I would have had a greater possibility of going out with this rack, but having 6 tiles on my rack, I don't have a 6-letter word. So that would probably was not the best I could do. But I'm 55 points ahead. That should be enough. I ought to be able to hold on. I don't need to worry about my opponent bingoing, because if he does bingo now, there's nothing I can do about it. He's won the game. And if he doesn't bingo, he will have fewer than 7 tiles, so he won't be able to bingo. I've got the O to go underneath ZO, and if my opponent places his O there, I can make zoo. So I could play Tog for 26 points. There's no outstandingly obvious places for me to play. I'm just looking beside derailleur to see if I can play down there. But these 6 tiles aren't great. There's a few words in there, but not many. There's gout and tig and tug. But there's not a whole host of words. So if I played Tog, how good is that for my opponent? It's not good. He can't make zoo and use the triple. And I've got TUI, which I can play at 06. And 26 points is a good score. Actually, Zol is good, so my opponent could play Mol. Do I have time to change this to something more sensible? Well, maybe he won't spot Mol. And even if he does, it won't win. He won't be going out. And I can play TUI at B7. I'm looking around to see where else I can play it. I've only got 19 seconds, so I'm going to have to play it quite quickly. I'm 54. Yeah, let's get this down. There may be somewhere better, but this is winning enough. Just waiting for my opponent to formally end the game. Which he does. And the final score was 415 to 443, a winning margin of 28. So quite a close game. A bingo at the end for my, or near the end for my opponent, could certainly have won it for him, but that wasn't to be. Let's see what I missed. So my opponent went first, and I played Vang, and I think that's best. Well, a whole bunch of fairly low scoring moves. 8k for outdo. Ah, alongside qualms. Yep, that would have been nice, 30 points. Town, that was my play. And yeah, those are the various anagrams of routines playable in column 1. I think that's the highest scoring bingo lane. Ricker for 24. Yeah, the rack leave of ER would have been good, but Ricker ends 1 square short of a double word square, so that would be a good opportunity for my opponent if he had an S. And 24 points isn't a great deal. So I suspect there's not a lot between many of those moves. Earlier and Lyria and derailleur, yeah, I think all of those bingos were considered, and I think derailleur was the best. Now this was, well, for a long time this looked like a tricky rack, but I think the Zabra is clearly best. So I'm glad to see that. Evil and Veil, Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything better than that. But a very, very tricky rack to deal with because it looked like there should be something better. 42 points, that's a huge score. Well, yeah, totally opens up row O, so not so great. What did I do? I played ETH for 34. Yeah, it certainly wouldn't have been smart to open up a bingo lane at this stage of the game with such a fragile lead, so I think ETH was fine. PUY at J8. Well, J8, where's that? Oh, I see, alongside Qualms. The problem with that is that it leaves row O open, and it was an absolute priority to close that off with an S still out and with the remaining tiles so bingo-y. So Pi was better. This was not a great rack. Maybe I should have played OH for 37 because I don't think there's a bingo ending in S with the remaining 8 tiles. But the rack leave of double TWI is pretty terrible. So I played UH for 22 points. Probably not optimal, but difficult to analyse. Tog, yep, that was my play. And finally, 2E for 5. That was the only outplay available. So I'm surprised. I thought there would have been other spots for those letters. So that was the game. I think it was an interesting game. It was quite close, and there were some tricky decisions. There were actually some very difficult racks to deal with there, particularly the ones where I played Veil and UH and Pi and Tog. In fact, over half of those racks I think were particularly troublesome because I was not able to score well and leave myself with a decent rack leave. I kept on feeling that my move was suboptimal, even though in the post-mortem many of those moves were actually were fine. There weren't obviously better ones. So it was a tough game, but there are games, that's frequently the case in Scrabble, and that's fine. It makes the game more of a challenge and more enjoyable. So I hope you enjoyed watching that. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.